So in Black Ops Cold War, you need to earn a lot of long shots for getting the gold, diamond and dark matter weapon camos in the game, and so in this video I'm going to show you the best long shot spots on every single map in the game currently at launch. We're going to dive straight into that, but if you want to check out my guide on how to get long shots faster, I'll have a card on screen for that and a link in the description when that video is out. And if you need any help with any other camo guides or leveling up your weapons faster, again I'll have links for those in the description and a card on screen. So anything to do with camos or any challenges, there'll be videos there, and if not, let me know and I'll make a video on it. I'll also have timestamps in the description for each map, and if you find the video useful, be sure to leave a like on it. It really helps me out. It's greatly appreciated. And you can also click the bell icon next to the subscribe button to stay up to date with all my latest videos, as there's going to be tons of useful videos throughout the year on challenges, camo guides and lots of other stuff. So without further ado, let's get into these tips for these long shot spots so that you can get them a whole lot easier. Bear in mind that each long shot location I show you can be used from either end. So if you're shooting from one way across to the other end of the map, don't forget you can also be at that other end shooting back where I was. So it works both ways, obviously, so just bear that in mind. Don't forget to push yourself back as far as possible, because the enemies are not going to be aware that you're doing camos. They're going to be running towards you, and so you want to push yourself back as far as possible so that it's more likely to count as a long shot. And unless otherwise stated in the video, all these long shot spots work with snipers, which is the longest range you need for a long shot, whereas the other weapons have shorter ranges, meaning that all other weapons should work too, And just to quickly break that down, assault rifles, LMGs and TAC rifles need 41 meters or longer for getting a long shot, whereas snipers need 51 meters or more, so that's the biggest range of all the weapons. SMGs are smaller at 36 meters, pistols are less at 25 meters, and shotguns are really small at 14 meters. So for sort of the pistols, the shotguns, and maybe the SMGs, you don't need to worry too much about the distance, you just need to push yourself back a little bit, but for the other weapons, especially the snipers, you need to push yourself back as far as possible and be using these spots I suggest. And very quickly, if you're not sure whether getting a kill will count as a long shot or not, don't forget you can use the ping system in the game to see how far away an enemy is or an area on the map. For this, what you need to do is press left on the D-pad, a yellow marker will pop up and show you the distance away from you. And so let's say you had a sniper, you can push yourself back until it's at or over 51 meters so that you know it counts as a long shot. So obviously feel free to use that if it helps. Now let's get into the specific locations on each map. So we're going to start with Armada, and I thought I'd start at the area looking between the middle and back of the ship. So first of all, if you're on the balcony area outside in the middle of the ship, you can look towards the back right area of the ship straight across. If people are on that top deck area, that's definitely going to count as a long shot with snipers, and then therefore it will obviously count with the shorter range weapons as well. You've also got where you can look from the back left of the ship towards the entrance to the building in the middle of the ship, so that's a good one as well. You can also push yourself back against the wall of the middle section looking towards the window in the room at the back of the ship, so that's quite good. If you've got to push yourself all the way back for snipers obviously, or if you're only using assault rifles or other weapons like that, you only need to be slightly back. You don't have to be right against the window, but you have to be right against the back of that room, so it depends what weapon you're using. You can also do it looking from the window in the back room of the boat across to the open balcony. That will count as long shot as well, especially for snipers, so that's useful. So that's the back part of the ship. What about the front part of the ship? So you can first of all do it looking from the side of the middle room closest to the stairs across to the front left of the ship where they're closest to the barrier, but that's for assault rifles only. Whereas you've also got other locations such as looking from the back of the middle room closest to the stairs across to the front building of the ship, and also you can look from the side of the middle room closest to the stairs across to the front right side of the ship, so that can be useful as well. On top of this, you've got the balcony area in the middle of the ship on the sort of right side of it, and you can look across to the front left part of the boat near the stairs. That can be useful for enemies. There's high flow of enemies there, so it's useful. Then there's other ones as well, such as when you push yourself back in the balcony area in the middle of the ship, obviously on the right side where the balcony is. If you push yourself right back, and you can look across to the window in the front building of the ship, if there's someone there right against the window and if you push yourself back, that will count as a long shot, which is good, and there's always someone in there, so that can be really helpful. Obviously though, there's no need to push yourself back for assault rifles. Now on the front left of the ship, if you push yourself right back, if you look towards the left entrance to the middle ship building, again that's a good place for getting a long shot. And you can also push yourself against the back of the room, again in this building at the front of the ship, and you can use that to kill enemies in the windows in the middle building looking across at you, again because there's often people in there as well, so that can be useful. And on top of this, if you also go to the front right of the ship and you push yourself back, you can look at the rear entrance to the blue crate, which is on sort of the right side of the ship. And finally for this map, you've got the front right of the ship, and if you push yourself right back, you can look at the right-sided balcony in the middle of the ship as well. So there's lots of different spots. Obviously it's up to you which ones you go for. Whichever ones seem like they have the highest traffic flow of enemies, but obviously it's up to you. Depends what weapon, depends what the map's like, what game mode and so on, because that can adjust things a little bit. But generally go for these tips, go for these locations. These will be the main ones, but obviously there may be other ones that I missed, but these are probably the main ones for that map. Then move on to Cartel. So there's not a ton of ones on this map, it's not great, but first of all, if you go to the hut near the hangar looking across to the sniper tower, tower in the middle of the map. That's good for assault rifles. Unfortunately, it doesn't work for snipers. You've also got one at the garage near the back of the spawn, looking across to the stairs leading to the hangar in the middle of the map. That's quite a good one, and that works for snipers. You've also got one at the back of the hangar. If you push yourself right back to as far back as you can go in the hangar, you can look across to the sniper tower, and if there's someone up there, you'll get them, even if they're pushed right against the wall of the sniper tower. It depends obviously what mode and what people are doing. Sometimes you get lots of people up there, sometimes not so much. So it just depends, but that can be useful if you're on the map. You've also got one at the back of the spawn by the river. Look across to the other side of the map by the river, and there'll be a spot there you can get someone, but obviously sometimes it can be high flow and other times not so much. Again, it just depends on the map, the game mode, and the flow. Finally, if you hop on top of the truck near the hangar, look across to the side gate near the opposite spawn. That can be a really good one as well, and that'll work with snipers. Unfortunately, other than that, there may be a few other ones, but they're not great. So honestly, this map is not fantastic. If you're on it, it's worth going for these spots, but if you're not, I would recommend avoiding it and going for other maps that are a lot better. Next up is Checkmate. So this is quite a decent map actually. So first of all, if you hop up onto the tower and look across to the other side of the hangar, that can be really, really good. Lots of spots there to look at, lots of easy long shots, so that's really, really great. Another one is in the back left corner, looking across to the back right area. That can get some people there as well. On top of this, you've also got the plane tail. So if you come behind this plane tail, look across to people that may be head glitching behind this wooden wall next to the wooden hut. That can be a great one as well. On top of this, you've got the left side by the concrete pillars, looking across to the walk-through yellow crate. That could be a great one as well. We've also got the left flank looking across to the area behind the diagonal plane in the center of the map. You often get a lot of people there, so it's really high flow of enemies, which is good. On this map, you also have the sideways part of the plane near the back of the map, and then looking across to the other side near the concrete pillars. This can be great as well. You do often get enemies there, which is fantastic. We've also got the area, if you hop on top of the crate near the plane tail and look across at the wooden hut, this is a really great spot, so I do recommend that highly. And then if you sit in the corner of the hangar near the sniper tower, looking across to the side room near the main hangar entrance, you often get people running in and out of there, which can be great as well. And then finally, we've got the side room that I was just looking at. If you go in there and look across to the door at the far end of the room, that can be another great spot as well if people running through there. So there's a lot of great spots in this map, mainly ones like the tower and on top of the crate and stuff like that, but choose whichever ones look best for you. But there's tons of great ones in this map, so it's very decent for getting long shots. Moving on to Crossroads Strike then. First of all, if you go to the corner with the two pale green crates, if you look across to the top area near the mountain, that can be a great place as well. Lots of people come past, which is great. You can then hop on top of that shipping crate and look across to the lower area where there's that frozen lake. You can either look down there, or you can also look across just to the right and up at the sniper lookout spots near those coloured yellow and green barrels as well. So those are two areas you can look at from the shipping crate, which is really great. Again, it's a perfect spot for long shots. But if you come along to this frozen lake, walk across to it, and in the middle of the lake, if you look at the center corridor between the two buildings across at the tank, there'll be people run past that top part there as well, and you can often get people, so that can be really good as well. On top of this, if you go to the corner of the ice lake by the barrels and you look across to the two shipping crates I was just at, you can get people there who are hiding behind the crates. You always have people hiding behind those crates, so that can be great. And then if you literally just hop up from there onto that little bit of rocky mountain, sit behind the sandbags on the rocks above the frozen lake, looking across to the top part of the map near the building on the left, then that could be really, really great as well for people there. There's loads of spawn points there, so it can be really useful. And then finally, if you just come along from there, if you go behind the sandbags near the netted canopy by the road, looking across to the other side of the top part of the map near the tank, that can be a great place as well. Again, there's more spawns, it's a high traffic flow area, so again, it can be really great. So Crossroads is alright, it's not the best, it's not the worst, it's definitely pretty decent. I definitely recommend considering checking out this map for long shots. Next up, we've got Garrison. Now this map can be a bit tricky, but if you put yourself in the right areas, you can get lots of sneaky long shots, definitely, but you've got to work a little bit harder to get to them probably on this map, just because of the layout of some of the map and some of the areas. But anyway, so first of all, let's start off on one side of the map near the entrance. If you stand back against the tank, basically at the edge of the map, and look across to the warehouse in the middle of the map, you can go through that main entrance area, look across to there, but also to the other entrance to the left of that, through that side door. Both of those places are good. There's a lot of enemies walking through there, so that can be great for getting long shots, and you're probably not going to be spotted easily either. Next, if you hop on top of the truck near the entrance to that warehouse, looking across at the tanks in the middle of the map, in that warehouse near the B flag basically in Domination and other game modes like that, that can be a great place as well. You can also go to the left flank inside the warehouse and look across to the other doorway, which is great. And there's also a green elongated extension to the warehouse looking to the control room in the center of the map. That can be a great one as well, and obviously vice versa. You can also look from the bridge next to the center control room across to either spawn, so that can be good. But obviously just make sure you don't get picked off, because you're more vulnerable, because you can be attacked from all sides, but there's lots of great spots from that bridge, so definitely take advantage of that if you can. Carrying on, if you go on top of the tank looking into the warehouse from the other side, that can be great as well. And if you move a little bit further back and get on top of that train carriage looking into the center of the warehouse, again, similar kind of spot but slightly further back, that can be great for long shots as well. And then finally for this map, another great spot, it's a little bit campy, but if you sit on top of the crates or barrels in the corner, basically in that outside loading bay area near the water looking across at the spawn by the gas tanks, if someone comes by the edge of the map past that gas tank, you can get them there, and also they run past the wall and you can see them on the other side. So there's two possible ways you can get those people by sitting in that corner. Obviously it's a little bit more campy, you're a little bit more vulnerable, but it is effective as well, so definitely do note that that's there. Next up we've got Miami, so at the end of the road near the Blackwood building looking across at the Paramore building next to the bus, that can be a great one. Then move down the road and get on top of the bus looking at the road between the Paramore building and the Blackwood building. There's people running past there, which is great. It's a very high flow area of the map, so definitely worth looking at that. On top of this you've got the Blackwood driveway. If you hop in there, look down the street towards the visitor centre, there's loads of people there. And then also if you get into the balcony in that Blackwood building looking down towards the street, again high flow area, very useful for that. You can then also hop on top of the bus between the visitor centre and the Evermore building at the other side of the map looking at the centre, you know, towards the Blackwood building and the Paramore building, so that can be great as well. And then if you go upstairs in the visitor centre, you can look across at the balcony in the Blackwood building, or, you know, people in the centre of the map on the road. So again, that can be very useful. And, you know, sort of finally, the last main one for this map would be the lifeguard hut on the beach looking across towards the beach bar or the other lifeguard hut or anything else on the beach. So definitely one side of the beach to the other can be good as well, but it's not as high flow as other places, so you've just got to kind of move around and see what works for you. Moving on to Moscow, this is not the absolute best map, but there are some lines of sight we can use to our advantage to get these long shots and make them a little bit easier. So first of all, the side road on the map, if you hop on top of the bus in the middle of that road looking towards the edge of the spawn, I'll show you guys. So from one bus across to the other, it's a common spawn point, so it can be good for getting people and picking them off there. Alternatively, if you run across to that bus we were just looking at and looking across to where we just were, people often run past there, so it can be really useful. If you then stay with that same bus but get underneath it and get inside the bus, stand inside it and look across, so like turn to the left basically, stand in it and look across at the side alleyway. There'll be people running down there from time to time. It's a common place from spawn to go, so it's definitely worth looking at that and keeping that in mind, because that can be good for long shots of all kinds, with all kinds of weapons, even snipers. You can also be a bit campy and hide next to the giant statue or the CCP building, looking across at the concrete steps leading up to the building with the rounded roof on it. I don't know how to describe it, you'll see what I mean. People sometimes come from there, but it's not as common, but it can be useful, and people often aren't going to see you if you're hiding behind that big statue. As well as this, you can also just go around the corner from this, go to the concrete alleyway and look into the marble room in that metro building, the one with the gold Lenin statue in the middle. Look across from that alleyway in towards either side of that statue. There'll be people running past there quite a lot. It's the center of the map, it's a very high flow area, so I wouldn't be surprised if you get a lot of people walking past, so that can be very useful. But you have to push yourself back as far as possible, and sometimes if they're a little bit closer to you, it might not count with the sniper, but it will with other weapons. If they're a little bit further back, it will count with all weapons. Finally for this map, if you go into the house, look across into that metro building, you know, the marble room, you can get people running past there as well, although it's a harder line of sight to see, so you might not always get as many people. But that's it for Moscow. Let's finally move on to Satellite, and for here, if you go to the back of the map on the sand dune looking at the other dunes or middle of the map, that can be a really great spot. That's probably one of the best spots on the whole map. Satellite is a really great map, and I think it's probably one of the best in the game so far for long shots, so I definitely recommend trying to get into Satellite if you can. On top of this, you can also go to the big rocky area nearby and look across at some of the other sand dunes as if you're basically looking towards that crashed parachute that's floating in the middle of the map. You can also go to the rock area near the other side looking towards the walkway towards the center of the map basically, and then on top of this you can also go to the center of the map and look at the sand dunes, or you can go to the center of the map and look at the rocky back spawn area as well. So there's not as many long shot spots on this map, only because the whole map is so big and there's so many open lines of sight that it'd be impossible to name all of them because there's just so many. But in terms of unique or different ones, there aren't a ton because the whole place is open. Really easy to get these long shots with these lines of sight, and it's definitely one of the best maps. So those have been all the long shot spots on every single map in Black Ops Cold War. I hope you found this useful, and if you now want to watch my guide on how to get long shots in terms of the other things like the modes, the maps, class setup, and some other great tips for getting long shots as well, be sure to check out my guide. I'll leave a card on screen and a link in the description. I'll have a playlist for all the other camo guides as well, in terms of getting, you know, headshots, all other things, and even leveling up your weapon as well to be able to do those challenges quicker. So make sure you check all of that out. It'd be really useful if you're interested in that. And if you found this video useful, be sure to leave a like on the video. It really helps me out. And also feel free to subscribe with your post notifications turned on so that you don't miss out on any upcoming Black Ops Cold War or Warzone videos, any of those kind of tips and tricks. I've got tons of useful videos coming throughout the year, so you're not going to want to miss out on any of those. But cheers for watching. Hope you found it useful, and hopefully I'll see you all on the next video.